just simply have to be. If your mind starts to remind you that it's there, pulling focus, just come back to watching the rise and fall of your breath. Start to feel the body heavy on the floor. Noticing how the body is supported by the mat, maybe by the bolster underneath your knees or the legs on a chair. Slowing down. Allowing the body to unwind even further as you connect to this idea of being present during this restorative practice. Reminding yourself that there is no effort needed, just simply a willingness to be. Releasing any ideas of doing this well. And just returning to acknowledging your breath, acknowledging your body when the thoughts inevitably arrive. We'll begin by setting our intention for this time. I will offer you an intention to use. I'll repeat it throughout our session, but please know your intention can be different. Setting an intention that works for you and your goals is going to be more beneficial. So it's fine to take something that you are working on and dedicate this time towards it. Today, I would invite you to the idea of taking this time to deeply honor all that is your body, all that is this vessel. Allowing this time to be healing, physically, mentally, emotionally, energetically, however it transpires, not just with rest, but in any other ways in which you need to further your healing, to further your endeavors towards honoring this vessel of yours. So for our first pose, you can gently start to draw your knees into your chest if they're over your bolster, or if they're in Shavasana, and roll over to one side and push yourself up. So we're gonna keep laying down, because how relaxing and lovely is that? But we're gonna just add a bolster and add another element. You might end up wanting to add two things. So I've got a bolster here. I also have a cushion, or I could use a blanket, pillows, whatever. So I am going to lay on my left leg, like on the side of my leg on my hip, and I'm going to put the bolster in front of that leg, and then I'm going to take my right leg and put it on top so it feels completely supported by the bolster, the stack of blankets, or the pillows. Then I'm going to take my left arm and let it cradle my head, and then if I wanted to, you could put a blanket, a pillow, or some sort of other bolster underneath your right arm. And I want you to just close your eyes and rest. Allowing yourself to be supported and allowing this pose, if you will, to be a time for you to bring more presence. Focusing on your breathing, dropping further into your body, imagining that as you allow yourself to rest here and be fully supported by the mat, by the bolsters, blankets, whatever props you're using, imagine that the body is allowed to melt, that it is feeling so safe over the course of this practice to release more tension, release any stuckness, whether it's emotions or other physical tension. Just imagine it melting its way back into the earth to be recycled. Reminding yourself to come back to your breath. Maybe come back to noticing the rise and fall of the belly when thoughts inevitably arise. Beginning to deepen your breath in your bellies. Gently starting to bring awareness to the belly and engagement so that you can lift that leg off the bolster, the blankets, whatever props that are supporting, and roll onto your back. Place your feet on the floor and then move your bolsters to the other side so that you can do everything on the other side. Noticing that each side of your body may be different. So again, laying now on the right side, putting the left leg up on the bolster, and then possibly having that arm underneath your head to cradle it. And then your arm could be supported, your left arm could be supported by the bolster, a blanket, pillows, or it can just be on the floor or lying on your hip, whatever's most comfortable to you. Reminding yourself to come back to the breath. And coming back to your intention, whether it's honoring your vessel today with presence, or maybe another intention that is better suited for where you're at in your life. Beginning to deepen your breath in your bodies, engaging at the navel center, drawing the knee in, rolling onto the back, and just bringing both knees in gently and rocking a little bit from side to side just to give your low back and sides a little massage. Okay, so the next pose we're going to do is going to be on our bellies. So I'd like you to experiment with this. I want you to have a blanket or a very fluffy, light pillow, like there's not much stuffing to it. So I'm just gonna fold this a couple times and place it in the middle of the mat. And this is gonna go underneath your belly. Then you're either gonna take an extra rolled up mat or blanket or a bolster, and you're going to put this underneath your ankles, okay? And then I'm just gonna have you lay down your belly on that blanket, and your feet, so the ankles are on top of the bolster, or they are like the ankles are facing the bolster. And then I want you to rest your head on either stacked forearms, or if it feels good to just lay your head all the way down, you can do that as well. Or if you have a little cushion, pillow, or blanket, you can place that under your head. Your arms can go to either side, palms facing up so they're next to your hips. Whatever would feel best to you. But as you breathe here, I want you to bring awareness to that navel center again, noticing the rise and fall of the belly. And honoring that belly, not just as you watch the rise and fall because of the breath and the diaphragmatic breathing, but thinking about all that your belly digests, honoring yourself and honoring this body for all it does, unbeknownst to you, just as it takes care of you digesting life. If thoughts arise, reminding yourself to just come back to the breath, come back to the body. And again, allowing yourself to melt. Imagining that any tension, any stuckness is just melting away into the mat, into the floor, to be recycled. If you're resting your head on one cheek, gently lift your head and gently turn your head in the opposite direction and rest on that cheek to stretch both sides of the neck. Beginning to deepen your breath in your bellies and gently making your way out of this pose. And then coming up to a comfortable seat. You can move everything off of the mat as we re-establish our next pose with our props. So I'm going to actually take my blanket and I'm going to fold it so it's just a little bit higher up. So instead of folding it that long way, I'm going to fold it kind of in a little rectangle so it's stacked. Okay. And I'm going to place this under my sit bones. And because what I have available to me are these cushy, very short blocks, I'm going to use these, but you could use extra blankets, you could use very small cushions. And I'm going to lengthen my right leg out to the side and bend my left leg in so that my left foot's sort of kissing my inner thigh. Now, because many of us can hyperextend, I have this little block. I can put it underneath my knee because I want to, again, feel supported. That might be, for me, this feels a little high, so just play with it. But you might want a little blanket there. Then I had you put the blanket underneath your sit bones because it helps lengthen and help the hamstrings stretch. Okay. Now with the bolster, you can put the bolster on top of your thigh, and then so you'll feel a nice heaviness on your thigh. And put the bolster on your thigh. You're going to move your hips so that they're facing the bolster. So it's not just about turning your shoulders towards your right foot. It's about twisting from the base so that it just cascades up the spine. Then you can place your hands on the bolster and rest your head on your forearms. However, for some of us, we might be feeling tight in our mid or low back, so you can place a couple blankets or a pillow on top of the bolster and then stack your hands and place your head on your forearms or your hands, whichever works best. And then relax and breathe. If for some reason right this moment, I don't have anything underneath my left knee that is bent, so I'm going to place another block under there, again, to feel supported. We're not trying to overdo anything with restorative, right? We're trying to allow our bodies to really find a place of support and rest. So make any changes you need in order to feel supported in this pose. And then settle in, again, by watching the rise and fall of your belly. Maybe if you like this idea of imagining these muscles melting, tension melting, whatever works for you. And then again, reminding yourself what your intention is for this time. Honoring this vessel, thanking it for all it does. And breathe. Reminding yourself to make any little modifications. If there's any clenching or anything that hurts, please come out of it and reassess. We're not going for any pain, no gain. I'm going for the exact opposite. beginning to deepen your breath in your bodies. Gently starting to sit yourself back up, taking your stack of props and setting them aside, bringing your foot and your knee back in, and then maybe just pedaling out the legs for a moment. Maybe rolling your ankles and flexing and tensing the feet, wiggling the toes. And then getting yourself ready for the other side. So you might want to adjust again on your sit bones. You're going to lengthen that left leg off to the side, maybe putting something underneath your knee so you don't hyperextend and so you feel supported. Maybe doing something else underneath that bent knee on the right side, right foot kissing that inner right thigh. Grabbing your bolster or stack of blankets and putting it on top of that left thigh, not directly on the knee. And then maybe stacking with another blanket or two, and then beginning to rest by allowing the head to come down, the forehead to come down onto stacked forearms. Reminding you, as I didn't mention it this time, but you really want to begin this twist or this turn towards the left leg from those hip bones, like the headlights of your hips, so that everything is easy. It's just this minor little twist, but it makes it easier for you to bend forward and rest and relax if you've made that little shift so that you're facing that left leg. Go ahead and settle in. Again, reminding yourself to be present in your body, present with the breath, and in a state of allowing in the rest, allowing in the ability to be quiet, to rest, to relax, to let go of anything that has been weighing on you and keeping you from enjoying more ease. Beginning to deepen your breath in your bellies, starting to sit yourself back up and moving all of your props off to the side. Again, maybe stretching your legs out long in front of you, pedaling them out a bit, whatever might feel good. Then we're going to set ourselves up for a supported Badakanasana. Like we're going to be seated, not laying on the ground. You can do this supine, so you can be doing this laying down, but you've got some options here. So I'm going to pull this chair close. So this could be an option if you have a big chair that is available. This might be a nice way to get supported. However, I'm going to use blocks to first show you how I would do this in a normal yoga class. So you're going to put your blocks and you're going to stack them. One can be nice and tall and the other one can be in front of it. And then you're going to lean your bolster against it. This can help you be pretty sturdy, okay? But if you don't have sturdy blocks or you just have a really great chair, you can use a combination of having the bolster lean against the chair as well as having those blocks behind the bolster, so that it's kind of like it's doing double duty. And that way, when you lean back, you have an even more upright spine, which can be really nice for some, especially if there's maybe a baby in the belly or just anything going on with your low back. So you've got some options here. Then, if you have a strap, I would recommend using the strap. Otherwise, getting several blankets or several pillows. Because what you're going to do is you're going to lean your back. So you're going to press your low back up against your bolster, lean against your bolster, and then you're going to bring your feet together and your knees are going to splay out. Then what can happen here is it can be a little too much for your inner thighs. And again, we're trying to relax. So this might not feel remotely relaxing. And what you can do is you can take a strap and put it around your knees so that you can lean into the strap and it takes pressure off. Otherwise, you can take your blankets and you can roll them up and just place them underneath your hip and since it'll be long enough, underneath your ankle or right above the ankle, and you can do that on both sides. The other thing that might be really nice as well here would be to place a blanket all the way over yourself so that you feel like you're in a nice little cocoon, or even put a blanket or a pillow on your belly just to get some grounding feelings going on. And then another thing that you could do, depending on how many props you have available, is you could place some cushions underneath your forearms or your elbows so that you can really allow your entire body to be supported. Otherwise, you can just place your hands in your lap or on your thighs and rest. So go ahead and take another moment or two and set yourself up. Once you get situated in your pose, allowing yourself to come back to this idea of honoring your vessel, or whatever your intention is that you set for this time, and coming back to allowing yourself to be, allowing your body to rest, allowing this time to just be a time where you are present with your breath, present with your body. And if it supports you during this time, imagining again that idea of relaxing, unwinding, maybe melting any tension, leaving you feel more free, more light. Beginning to deepen your breath in your belly, drawing those knees towards one another. Starting to remove any of the props from close up so that you can start to sit up, maybe pedal out the legs. Now we're going to do another supported forward fold, this time with both of our legs together. So somewhat similar to the last pose that we did when we did one leg a piece. But this time, you're gonna bring your legs out in front of you, and then you're going to take your bolster and lean it on top of you. So depending on how large your bolster is, you might have it, horizontal. Otherwise, you can have it vertical, as long as that feels like it's actually beneficial, because sometimes it's a nice way for you to be supported through the belly. And then you can stack your forearms again and rest your forehead. Now, again, If for some reason you have very tight hamstrings, you can fold up that blanket and then place the blanket underneath your sit bones. Again, maybe placing another blanket that isn't quite as stacked underneath the knees so that you aren't hyperextending. And it really just depends on your own body. You might not notice that. Some people aren't going to have that challenge, but just keep it in mind and consider. If there's any other props you need to get comfortable here, go ahead and take them, but I would lean the forehead directly on the forearms and just allow the hamstrings to relax. Allow the spine to be supported by the bolster, and let that head be supported by the forearms. Reminding your body that it's safe to relax. It's safe to just be. If you become reminded by your thinking mind, honor that it's working. Thank you very much. And then just come back to focusing on the breath. Beginning to deepen your breath in your body and gently making your way back up, taking that bolster off the legs, moving your body in any way that feels needed to remove any stuckness. So we're going to do some twisting now. So you're going to place your bolster starting with the small side in the center of your mat and then pointing it away. And then you're going to sit next to that end so it's touching your hip. And then your right knee is bent and your right foot is basically touching your left thigh. If you don't have a bolster, it's great to have a stack of blankets here or a stack of cushions or pillows So what I want you to do is I want you to imagine yourself nice and tall. The spine is so tall. And then I want you to think about bringing awareness to your right hip, and that everything's turning from that right hip towards the bolster, and then your spine starts to cascade along. You can walk the hands down the bolster or along the bolster on either side till your head can rest on the bolster. So you can either turn and look in the opposite direction, so you're getting a twist from the base of the spine all the way through the crown of the head. Or if it's too much on the neck and shoulders, you can turn and look in the same direction that your knee is pointing, so towards the right. Allow yourself to relax here. Connect to that navel, connect to this twist. Again, we haven't really been talking about anything regarding prenatal, but if you had something going on in the navel center, something growing, you'd want to just be resting and keeping this open. We wouldn't want to do a closed twist. We'd want to just leave everything open and allow ourselves to relax. So once you get here, you start to get settled. Again, just imagine the body heavy, relaxed. Letting go. starting to deepen your breath in your bellies. And gently starting to place the hands on the ground, pressing into the arms, arching back up, and then starting to twist those around so that you can place the low back against the bolster, stretch your legs out away from the bolster, maybe pedal it out. And just taking a few deep breaths here, honoring how you're feeling, noticing those energetic shifts from the beginning of class before we started to now. Maybe noticing a more relaxed way of being, a calmer demeanor, whatever you're noticing, just acknowledge it. And then start to turn towards the left so that the left hip can kiss the bolster. That knee is bent. And then the left foot is touching the right thigh. And then again, thinking about grounding down through that left hip, bringing awareness to the left hip, lengthening through the spine, but then starting to twist from the base there. So you can walk your hands down on either side of the bolster and twist your head to the left, making that complete twist all the way from the low back up through the crown of the head. Again, acknowledging that if that is too much, maybe on the neck and shoulders, making sure that you allow the head to look and rest the same direction as the left knee. Connecting to the breath in the body and really allowing yourself to be supported by the bolster. Allowing yourself to let go. If there are any changes you need to make in order to feel more supported, more comfortable, make sure you do so, reminding yourself that any pain or pinching or clenching is not the goal of this particular time. The goal is to find more ease, find more release, let go. Beginning to deepen your breath in your belly. And to gently start to bring awareness to the hands, pressing them into the floor, pushing yourself back up, turning around away from the bolster, legs out nice and long, maybe pedal them out. And again, just assess how you're feeling, what shifts you are noticing, maybe more pleasantly calm in the mind or in the body. Just noticing whatever is changing, different. So you're going to keep your bolster in the same place, and then you're going to take a blanket. Now, I'm going to, depending on the height of your bolster, this is the tricky part. You're going to want to have your blanket almost halfway to the height of your bolster, because you want to be supported here. We're going to be doing a small back bend, a supported back bend, kind of like a supported bridge pose in a way. And so you're going to want to have that sort of step. Now, some of you, depending how flexible your back is, it might be okay for you to just have, just hardly much of a blanket down there. And again, it depends on how high your bolster is. They range in heights. But I'm gonna have mine sort of like a step below. Then I'm gonna put my sit bones on my blanket, have my legs out nice and long in front of me, and then I'm gonna slowly walk myself in a way so I have my hands behind my back on the bolster, and I'm just lowering myself onto the bolster. Good, and then bringing my hands out to a T. Now, ideally, what I would recommend is having something underneath your arms so that it doesn't feel so severe through the chest. It might feel really nice at first, but then over time as we hold it, it might feel too much. So just check in there. The other thing that might feel really nice is having a blanket on the belly to feel more anchored and grounded. And then last, depending again on your knees, if your knees are off the ground and you're feeling an hyperextending happening, you might want to put a little blanket underneath the knees, okay? Now, one other piece, depending on where you're falling or laying on the bolster, if your chin's feeling like it's coming up pretty high and it feels as though your head is tilting back, so that you're almost looking backwards, even though maybe that's not really what's happening, but you're feeling that, you might want to put just the smallest little, like wrapping maybe a scarf or something and putting it underneath the higher part of the back of the head, just to give your chin just the slightest of tucks so that you feel, again, supported instead of like opening up so much through the throat and mostly through that throat, okay? So find any changes that need to take place so that you feel supported, and then go ahead and get yourself settled in. This is going to be our final pose before our Shavasana. So just allow yourself to make any changes so that you feel relaxed and not overextended in any way. If you're already feeling comfortable in the pose, you've already found what works for you, just imagine that you're able to relax deeper. Beginning to deepen your breath in your bellies. Gently starting to bring awareness to the navel. Bringing the hands to either side of you. And then possibly, depending on how you're feeling, either rolling to the side or starting to press yourself up with your hands, depending on what works best for you as you start to come out of this pose. Moving all the props off to the side. And then determining how you want to proceed for your Shavasana. You can do a regular, wonderful Shavasana just laying on the mat. If you'd like, you can do Stonehenge. So what I have here is I put 2 blocks on either edge of my mat, because I have a third one, I stuck it in the middle here. And taking your bolster and putting it on top. Then it's available for you to hoist your legs up and over. Now, as you do this, there is a little trick to this, because sometimes if you're not paying attention, so if you're paying attention, you're getting close enough and you're picking up your calves and setting them on this bolster. Otherwise, sometimes what you do is you end up kind of pushing it off to the side on accident. So you pick them up and then set those calves down, which means you have to get close enough to the bolster in order to do that. Or you can just have the bolster underneath your knees. You don't have to have it on these blocks. Or again, you can just have everything nice and long. Noticing your low back. So for those of you who maybe your low back is, if you're noticing it, right? Since we did a minor back bend, supported back bend before, you might want to keep your knees up. Feet can be wide on the mat, knees can drop into one another. It can be really relaxing and traction out your low back. So those knees would drop into one another, feet are still on the floor, and then hands can be at either side, not touching the body, just a little bit away. Again, you can do all the other things, placing a blanket or a pillow on your belly, grabbing a blanket to cover your body, maybe putting a scarf or an eye pillow over the eyes. Starting to bring a relaxation and awareness to this end of your practice. Shavasana is a culmination of all of your efforts. Think of it in a way of alchemizing everything that you've done. And it takes all this effort, all these seeds you planted, and it starts to take it further throughout the rest of the day into the coming week. It's the most important part of your practice. So just allowing yourself to come back to your intention, maybe honoring this beautiful vessel, this wonderful vessel of yours, or whatever other intention you had settled upon, and allow yourself to be. Beginning to deepen your breath in your body, bringing gentle awareness to your fingers and toes, placing one hand on the heart, one hand on the belly, and just taking a moment to honor yourself for making time for you, for making time for your yoga. And just imagine that you can feel a smile in every single cell, and that it's lighting up your whole body. And when you're ready, you can roll over to your right side and push yourself up to a comfortable seat with your eyes either closed or downcast. Bringing your hands together, you can place your hand to the point between your eyebrows. May you always see clearly and be full of wisdom what you need and what you can give. Bring your hands to your lips. May your lips always speak your truth. Speak words kindly and honestly. And bringing your hands to your heart, may your heart always be full of love, compassion, and acceptance first for yourself, so you can inspire love, compassion, and acceptance in others. Thank you so much for sharing your practice with me today. If you have any questions, any feedback, let me know. And if you're interested in seeing me in person and coming to Summer Solstice Yoga next Tuesday morning at 6 a.m. at PV Plaza, I will be there. I don't know if you guys are early birds, but if you are more than welcome to come. All right. Thank you. I think I know you, don't I? Oh, goodbye. That works. I'm glad, because I have to go. I gotta go. Do I know you from the gym? I might know you from the gym. How funny and weird.